So this movie, as you probably know, is a really great date night horror movie. And the couple next to me while I was watching it definitely took that to heart because they were all over each other the whole time and talking to each other the whole time, the whole movie. So I'm really glad that they could make that such an immersive and annoying experience. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today our movie in the middle is Together. Together is the newest body horror about a couple going through a rough patch who move to a new neighborhood and suddenly find themselves quite literally not being able to keep their hands off of each other. It stars Alison, Brie, Dave Franco, and Damon Herriman. So I think body horror is just like super back, guys. I mean, we had The Substance last year. We had Malignant a couple years before that. We've got this one. They're just getting really good. And again, like I've said about other horror movies, it's because they're, putting a lot more than just the horror aspects into it. It's the real life stuff that they're talking about as well, and just using body horror to do that. And it's between the actual themes and the practical effects, these are just getting so good. And when I saw the trailer for this one, I was like, that's a really interesting idea. I am definitely down for that. And it did not disappoint. Starting off with the highs, Alison Brie and Dave Franco. Obviously, they are basically the entire crux of this movie. I thought they did an amazing job. They really work well together. And I mean, obviously, they are married in real life. So I don't know if that made making this movie an easier experience or way weirder and harder to do, because for some of it, it's like they have really great chemistry, but there's just some things that just seem like it would be too weird to do, and there are just some scenes in here that I would never in a million years be like, let me act that with somebody. But they're both great in their respective roles in the story. I mean, Dave Franco is the one who, he's a little bit more reserved after some kind of vague accident. We can kind of surmise what happened, but there's this big accident that happened, and so he kind of gets withdrawn, and the relationship starts to suffer because of this. And both sides of that, obviously this is about codependency, so him being codependent on her, and her, having the struggles of what do I do? I don't want to abandon him, but all of that was really great. The themes in this movie are really well discussed. The interactions with the characters, and when it gets to a tipping point, and how the actual horror is following that, all were really well done, and the performances were just so good. It's really hard when you only have 2 or 3 characters to really be invested in a story if they're not that great at the acting, and of course they both are, but it's funny because I just never expected this out of either of them. Who knew that Annie Edison had it in her?
With actual...
And obviously the practical effects in this are, I mean, I've said this about a lot of things recently, but the practical effects in this one, for the idea that it has to portray, are crazy good. I mean, I don't even know how they did half the stuff. I mean, I'm saying guess, but I don't know how they did half the stuff that they have to do in this movie to make it realistic. And I mean, blending it with probably some CGI, it was pretty flawless. And it made for so many moments where it was so cringy, kind of like Bring Her Back earlier this year. It were just moments where I was like, oh, I mean, I wanted to look away, but I just couldn't. Like my eyes were glued to the screen. We were fusing, no, this worked better on paper. But aside from the body horror, which again is more gore and cringy and it's hard to look at, there are actually some genuinely good scares. Whether it's jump scares or creepy people kind of standing aloof or shadows, whatever it is, there was actually a really good amount of those as well, and they were very effective. Because obviously this movie is about weird fusings, and that's what's scary about it, but really underneath what's scary about the movie and mentally is the people, and can you trust the people around you when you're in this secluded place, and do you really know the people? And so that was a really great element as well to give a lot of horror. And thematically, I thought that they did a pretty good job of finishing out the movie and coming to some sort of conclusion that both ties up the themes, but also gives you still that element of horror. You know, I think this is something that, like, Smile, while I really love the movie, I didn't love the ending. Even though, like, I'm like, okay, with that trilogy, it's its own thing now. They're building to a whole third one. But with this one, I think they did a good job of kind of blending those two things together, where it was a mostly satisfying ending thematically, but it's not just like everything ties up in a bow. And finally, the visuals. I mean, you know, it's one of those things that a lot of horror movies nowadays have some very good visuals. So it's not like there's anything super outstanding that I can say that's different from others, but it was just done really well. Once again, there's a lot of great camera movement, a lot of great parallels in the editing, and, you know, when you have a horror movie like this, you're usually going to see one or two thematic parallels and visual parallels and things like that, and I just thought they did a great job with that as well. For my lows, they're kind of small. By the end of the movie, I did feel like just slightly bit unsatisfied. Not a lot or anything, but for how good the movie was for the first to 85% of it. At the end, I think I just wanted not some more answers. Everything's kind of like answered, but it doesn't feel like it's answered fully. You know, there's a couple things that they kind of touch on really quick, or moments that happen earlier in the movie where you're like, ooh, we're going to find out what that was. And it didn't quite feel like I understood all of it. Like I get what was going on, but there were just some things, like there's a character, there's a couple moments in this cave that they were in, there's this entire backstory about how and why this fusing is happening, which I won't spoil, but there was just elements about that I wish we had just heard a little bit more about to get a better understanding of what this is and why it's going on, and the kind of a little bit of the logic and rules that go along with that. It also ends on a very weird, but I mean expected note. It just brings up some weird questions logistically. Like, it's not really an issue that I have with the movie, but I am curious, like, what's going to happen after this? Like, what do you do with this ending? So overall, Together was basically exactly what I was expecting from it. I mean, this is one of those movies that met the expectation. It had great scares. It had some funny moments, like awkward, funny humor at times. The practical effects were great. The themes discussed were interesting. I mean, I don't know that I've seen a lot of codependency in horror movie themes recently. It's very heavily been a lot of grief or possession or family drama. The performances were great. I pretty much loved the entire thing, and I just would have liked a couple more little answers, and that was about it. I'm going to give Together a 3.5 out of 4. You know, a friend in college once told me that everybody's mindset is that we are two halves, and we're looking for our other half, and then you find somebody and you complete each other. And really what it should be is that you're two whole individual people in your own right, and then you find somebody and you want to spend the rest of your time with them. I think we should start adopting more of that mindset. You know, just in case. Well, guys, let me know what you thought of Together, and let me know what other horrors you're excited for this year. And since we're kind of more than halfway through the year, how's it stacking up? What's been your maybe top 3 so far? And as always, keep your hopes high, your stress low, movies right in the middle, and your loved ones, you know, maybe about a foot distance. I'll see you guys later.